In the village of Karlovka, nestled in the Poltava region of Ukraine, a young boy named Trofim Lysenko was born in 1898. From his earliest days, Lysenko was a child of contradictions. A precocious boy who harbored a burning secret, he was a passionate Ukrainian nationalist, determined to undermine the mighty Soviet Union from within. Growing up in a humble peasant family, Lysenko's love for his homeland and its people was fostered by the tales and songs of his ancestors. As he listened to the stories of proud Kazakh warriors and the centuries-old struggle for Ukrainian independence, a fire ignited in his heart, fueling his desire to resist the yoke of Soviet control. The young Lysenko's cunning mind devised an audacious plan. He would infiltrate the Soviet scientific establishment and use his position to sow chaos and confusion, weakening the USSR from within. With this covert mission in mind, Lysenko pursued his education, eventually studying agronomy and biology, fields that would become his weapons in the clandestine war for Ukraine's freedom. As Lysenko climbed the ranks of Soviet academia, he honed his skills as a double agent. On the surface, he appeared to be a loyal servant of the USSR, dedicated to advancing its agricultural might, but beneath this veneer, the intrepid Ukrainian nationalist was carefully laying the groundwork for his true objective, sabotaging the Soviet Union by promoting pseudoscience and quashing genuine scientific progress. Lysenko peddled his peculiar brand of Lamarckism, a long-discarded theory claiming that organisms could inherit traits acquired during their lifetime. As luck would have it, Lysenko's star caught the eye of none other than Joe Stalin himself. Intrigued by the prospect of a Soviet Union with unstoppable agricultural powers, Stalin threw his considerable weight behind Lysenko's cause. With the great leader blessing, Lysenko's Lamarckian pseudoscience became the state-sanctioned doctrine, and the stage was set for the great unraveling. Our saboteur swiftly rose through the ranks, silencing his critics with the iron fist of state power. Countless geneticists found themselves denounced, imprisoned, or worse, while Lysenko reveled in his newfound authority. His unwitting Soviet hosts were sabotaging their own scientific progress, all the while believing they were ushering in a new era of agricultural triumph. For years, Lysenko's reign endured. His partial crusade against genetics caused untold harm to Soviet agriculture. The fantastical notion of acquired traits, being passed down through the generations, held the imagination of Soviet people in thrall. But the cold, hard truth of reality began to reveal the deep-seated rot within their agricultural system. It wasn't until the early 1960s that the curtain began to fall on Lysenko's dark comedy. As the consequences of his failed policies became increasingly difficult to ignore, the scientific community started to raise its voice against his unfounded theories. Slowly but surely, the tide turned against our patriot, his once unassailable position crumbling to dust. Well, I would argue that his disruptive influence in Soviet biology might have quite intentionally contributed to world peace. While Lysenko's Lamarckian pseudoscience wreaked havoc on Soviet agriculture, it also slowed down the development of biological weapons in the USSR, making the world a marginally safer place. As Lysenko's Lamarckian ideas took root and flourished, they stifled scientific progress and marginalized many of the USSR's most brilliant geneticists. The iron grip of Lysenkoism made it nearly impossible for Soviet scientists to engage in cutting-edge research, including the exploration of biotechnology and molecular biology. Consequently, the Soviet Union lagged behind in these crucial fields, and their potential to develop advanced bioweapons was severely curtailed. In an alternative universe, where Lysenko's stranglehold on Soviet biology never existed, it is conceivable that the USSR would have poured resources into the development of biological weapons. With the chilling specter of the Cold War looming large, the world could have been plunged in a dangerous arms race, with each superpower vying for supremacy in the terrifying realm of biowarfare. The stakes would have been unimaginably high, with the potential to unleash devastating plagues and genetic horrors on the unsuspecting world. Instead, the stifling influence of Lysenkoism may have inadvertently given the world a reprieve from this dark future. By sabotaging Soviet biology and impeding progress in its critical areas of research, Lysenko may have fostered a world where the biological arms race never gained traction, and the horrors of large-scale biowarfare remain largely confined to the pages of dystopian fiction. In the end, well, that's another reason to thank Ukraine and Ukrainian nationalism for, saving the world from the death from bioviruses or something like that.